Welcome back everyone to another episode of How to Vinyl Wrap. This episode we're finally diving in to actually wrapping. Now what I'm going to be focusing on today is going to be horizontal, roughly flat surfaces. So this is more of a great starting point for a DIYer. I'm doing this in my garage right now. Or if you just want to start somewhere basic and wrapping other people's stuff, this is a great video for you. And this is going to cover pretty much roofs and hoods. I'm going to be doing the hood on my personal project car. It's a 06 STI. It needs a lot of love, so I'm really excited to finally start wrapping it. Now before we dive in, I want to give a huge shout out to Vivid. They're actually sponsoring the rest of this series, and I am so excited to work with them and see what their vinyl can do. I don't know about you, but I'm ready. Let's go. Now this is the vinyl I'm using today. It is a gloss black metallic rainbow by Vivid, and I am so excited. This stuff looks amazing. Really excited to try out this vinyl and see what it's all about. Now before we get started, I do want to say that the hood has been prepped, so washed, clay barred, and then alcohol wiped down, and I wiped down twice. So everything's cut and ready to go. I will say though, this vinyl has a cap on it. A cap meaning the top. It comes with a protective layer. I actually prefer vinyls to have it. A lot of vinyl manufacturers don't do it. It's nice because we can actually get most of this hood done without even scratching it with a buffer. I'm talking like micro scratches you're gonna get just using your squeegee. And because of the cap, we can do most of this flat surface, this hood, as a flat surface. We don't have to be heating it. You don't heat it with the cap on anyway. But the nice thing is we're not gonna do any damage to it. No scratches are gonna happen as we're using our squeegee back and forth, the whole thing. So without further ado, let's get to wrapping. I'm gonna go ahead and pull this backing out and get this thing laid. We're gonna try and keep the cap on it for now, but we'll see how that goes. So you pull the backing, you try to pull the backing off while it's on the body panel, mostly just because you're gonna get a lot of static and you don't want to pull debris up and stuff like that. So you try to just get it lined up here. You get wrinkles in the process, not a huge deal. So I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of break this up into two pieces, try and get it all nice and glassed out, and then we can kind of go from there. And glassed out meaning just none of this. We want to get this as smooth as possible. And see how I shift my body and the wrinkles kind of go one way or the other. You really just kind of find a nice, smooth transition. And it's not going to be perfect right now. We didn't heat it or relax it. We still have the cap on. So as you can see how I'm shifting my body weight here, and you're getting the wrinkles, and I'm just trying to line it up and pull. All right. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is try and get some of this middle laid out, and then from there break it up into another piece, heat it, take the cap off, heat it, relax it, and try to get it laid down. So here you can see I sprayed a little bit of lubricant on here. I personally like Vivid Shield, and I've been using it on my squeegees for years now. So we're kind of just working our way over here. I'm really just trying to see how far
I can push this on each side over before it wrinkles up, and then we take the cap off. So as you can see, what I'm doing here is I'm going at angles, right? And I'm doing overlapping by roughly quarter to half of an inch. And that's all you're gonna do. And so I'm running into my hood scoop right now. We'll just pretend that this is all one piece just for the sake of this video. All right. So we've got a good chunk of the middle out. You always want to start in the middle and kind of work your way out on each side. So what I'm going to go ahead and do here is try and get this out right here by pulling it generally in this direction. Okay then. There again. All right. Getting a little bit of fight because it's up here. We'll go ahead and trim this in a minute. So we got a crease in here, so we can't wrap past this. We're gonna have to pull this up and fix that. But I'm pretty happy with how far I can get before I even have to take off the cap and start heating. Yeah, there's another wrinkle right there. So this is about the general area where we're gonna be able to lay with the cap on. And like I said before, it's nice to have that with the cap on. You keep that rigidity where I normally wouldn't just come straight at a wrinkle, but I can because I have the cap to hold that from completely wrinkling up. And even if you do, just pull it up and reset it. So we're gonna be working around here. So we got this whole section done. Just gotta pop that out. All right, that's all gone. All right, and we're starting to get wrinkles here. So this is about the stopping point to where I'm gonna take that cap off. All right, and before you heat this stuff, we're taking the cap off, so not a big deal and to have the residue. But if you use like Shield or some kind of lubricant for your squeegee, make sure you don't heat with that on. All right, so we're gonna go ahead, pull the cap. We've pretty much pushed as far as we're gonna go. Check that out. That is cool. Kind of break it up into corners here, and generally this will sort itself out when we start working to each corner. So think of kind of cut it down the middle, cut it this way in the middle, and you're gonna take and work each corner on their own if you're by yourself. If you have multiple friends, it's a bit easier where you can have people kind of hold it out, talk, and heat it and then lay it that way, but this is how we're gonna do it. So first things first is this corner is almost done. I'm just gonna pull this up and heat out this wrinkle right here. all we're doing is relaxing the film. We're not stretching it. And that's all we're gonna do. Look at that, right there. That's what I'm looking for. Perfect. That is glassed out. So you can actually see where, I don't know if you can see it on the camera, you can see where it stopped right there from where I lifted it back up. So we're gonna kind of do the same thing here. I'm gonna just come at an angle, overlapping. Look at that. That's beautiful right there. That's perfect. See how it's puffing up now? This air is caught, so you can do, all it needs is somewhere to go. When you start seeing it lift up like that, just find the nearest area and just, bam. All you're gonna do is come back through with your squeegee. That right there looks amazing. I'm really excited. All right, so we're done with this corner. Move on to the next, move on to the next, and the next. Don't try to take it all in one go. You're looking at all these wrinkles like, oh my God, like, how am I gonna deal with that? Just do 1 quarter at a time. All right, so same thing. All I'm gonna do is pull this up, reset it, relax it with some heat, and lay it back down. That is pretty dang close right there. So we have a little stuff here and there, that's fine. Once we get closer to the edge, we'll deal with that. Now you saw, as I was doing it, I'm kind of moving my hands around. Every brand of vinyl is different, every type of vinyl is different. So it's really, when it comes down to it, it's you're trying to pull and get that glass out. And whether that's, you know, you're putting a hand over here, and you can experiment while you're sitting there and kind of shift your body weight around. To me, that's the best way. See, because I can see the residue from this, so I'm literally just going a quarter inch, overlapping everything. I'm not too worried because I'm going to deal with the edges on their own. I'm just really trying to get the vast majority of this down. See how we're lifting right here? Yet again, we're gonna have to find an airway for it. And look, this bubble comes all the way over here. So, look at that. Wrinkle right here. That's okay. We'll have to reset that. I'm just gonna leave that there for now. We're gonna go finish up on everything else. Some of these things you're seeing through the vinyl is actually rock chips. This is a pretty heavily rock chipped hood, which I'm not too worried about. Now, I'm gonna work with this corner here. I can see I got wrinkles already. So, and I see my wrinkles coming up. So you always wanna go at them straight on from that kind of angle. If they're going across, you go this way. If they're going this way, you pull from either way. All right. So relaxing the whole vinyl, just this whole section. Damn. So putting it up, lifting it from here, we're not going to be stretching. I will pull this back up. I just want to see how far I can get, and this is just helping me lay it in there nicely. All right. The other thing too is when you have it kind of lifted a little bit, just a little bit, the nice thing is you don't have to worry about air getting trapped because you're literally just laying it in. So I got a wrinkle right here. I'm gonna have to keep that out real quick. All right. So here, all I'm doing is just lifting up this corner, holding tension, and just laying in here. Not stretching, not heating, just like that. All right, so now we're gonna move to our final quarter of this panel. Yet again, I'm gonna lift it, heat it, go from there. So I got a bubble all the way out over there that I wanna try and deal with beforehand. It's not letting me, so we're gonna have to get in a little bit farther. All right. So we got a couple wrinkles. What I was trying to avoid was having to pull it up, because the farther I pull it up, the more I'm just taking away what I just did. Unfortunately, we got a couple wrinkles here, and we had a nuisance bubble over here that wouldn't get out. So we're gonna go ahead and relift this whole section up. All right, so we lost a little bit over there, lost a little bit over there. That's okay. I'd rather do this now than have that sticking out at me the whole time. Okay, not so bad. So mind you, it's actually pretty warm here. Still mid to high 80s and pretty humid. So getting stuff like a tack reducer is a world of difference, I promise you. And you really only need it for horizontal surfaces like this. And the reason I'm not doing this number, where I'm going back and forth, is because this is all sealed already. I don't want to push the air up here and have to reset that corner. The base of this is now done. And we can start now moving on, doing the last kind of final touches here. So for here, I'm just going to pull that up, heat it a little bit, and get it out real quick. So the wrinkle is going this way, so I'm going to pull this way. And just get it relaxed. We're not stretching. We're just going to hold it and lay this in. It's nice and cool now. Relaxed. There you go. Yeah. Same thing here. They're going this way, so I'm going to pull this way. And I'm just holding this. I'm not pulling on it. I'm just holding it so that it can relax and reset. Because if you're pulling it while you're heating, you're gonna stretch it. All right. And all I'm trying to do is get to my edge here, my hood edge, because that's what I'm going to be using as my cut line, is my hood edge. Look at that. That is beautiful right there. See, we got our edge. Now you might have to lift up on some of the edges as you're doing it to let the air out. So here I have a wrinkle. We're gonna try and pull this up without messing with this. All right. Okay. So that wrinkle's out. We're gonna get this one out. Relax the whole film. Bam. So that's where the hood stops there. And that's all I'm gonna do. I'm gonna keep going around this with like these. I'm gonna be pulling that way or this way. And I'm just gonna finish this up real quick and then we'll come back for cutting. So I just finished up kind of the little stuff here and there. It was all seemed pretty redundant, so I just went ahead and cut it out. From here, we're gonna start cutting. And so with certain cars, you have enough gap. Like this one has a big enough gap between the hood and the fender where we can cut on this side, on the fender, with our blade against it, but not cutting the paint. And you're only gonna pull out as much blade as you need. So about that. You could even come down to there. There you go. No, okay. And so the other thing too to keep in mind when you're doing these sides is you want this line without wrinkle, or as close to without wrinkles in between, because when you cut, if you cut on a wrinkle, it's going to be all jaggy. You want this to be just as clean on top and good looking as on bottom as well. So going ahead, barely pulling my knife out, I'm going to leave about roughly that much room for a tab so that we can deal with these corners afterwards. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and cut right here. Remember, putting the knife on this side. So all you're gonna do is get it down, okay? We've gone through the vinyl, and I mean, I barely pushed. I'm holding it slightly this way, and you're just gonna follow that line. We're not cutting paint. We're not damaging anything. I have the blade slightly tilted backwards towards the hood to make sure that I'm not cutting onto the fender. Okay, we're coming up to another corner. So again, once we get close, we're about same distance here. We're gonna go ahead and stop because we need a tab for the corner. You're gonna go ahead and pull up right here and cut away. Same thing, carefully taking our blade and just cutting that away. Okay, look at that. That is a perfect cut. Don't mind all the damage on the car. Those are kind of small rock chips. But this right here, you can just take your finger and almost run it across and get it to start laying down already. That is a perfect cut right there. So we're gonna go ahead and do the other side. Giving us room for a tab. I always go kind of overboard. Some people only make a small tab here. I kind of really go out because it's always better to have extra. So look, the blade barely out. We're gonna come down to about right here. Right? And go in. The blade is pointed out towards the hood just a little bit, but I'm pulling in towards this fender here. And we're just gonna go ahead and cut. All right, so we're getting close. Making sure not to cut near or on the paint. Okay. Look at that. That makes me happy, saying that. We're gonna go ahead and trim this up real quick. So that is. So we're gonna leave a good amount of gap here. You see I'm pulling up on the vinyl, so I know I'm not anywhere near paint or anything that I'm gonna scratch. Now what we're gonna do is I'm gonna trim this front up, and then we're gonna do the back. So we're gonna do the front, the back, pop the hood, do corners on front and rear. And like I said, we're gonna just be ignoring this. We're gonna act like this is all part of the solid hood for this tutorial. So we're gonna deal with this back. To clean this up, all I'm gonna do, grab a wrap glove and heat this. And I'm gonna do one pass, kind of, if you can maybe get it like this, if you can see it from here. One pass with it about here, and the next pass I'm gonna go underneath and get it to grab just a little bit more underneath. And the heat is just to relax it, that's it. Okay, that's the first. See how it's gone down? Just a little bit. But now we're gonna get the full coverage on the other side. I'll make sure that drops in there. So that doesn't drop in here, we're not going to get that full coverage underneath. All right, we'll do the other side. All right, so that was one pass. Now we're gonna get it under just a little bit more. Make sure that drops in there. See how it's almost like tucking underneath when I hit it with that heat. There we go. That's what I was looking for. All right. Now, the great thing about this, same thing. Only stick out your blade just a little bit, if you guys can see that. Just a little bit, okay? And from here, I'm sticking my blade underneath the hood and pushing up against it. I won't be cutting it. I'll have the blade tilted down ever so slightly. And if this gets in the way, you can always extend a little more. There's usually, with most cars, nothing you're gonna cut from this angle, but if I don't have to, why have it out that far? So I'm gonna start a little bit farther. See, blade is underneath, and I'm just riding this right here. Remember, we're getting close to a corner here, so I'm gonna tab out. There you go. Look at that. Perfect cut, perfect edge, and that's what people want to see. All right, same thing over here, except now the vinyl doesn't have as much tension from the whole piece being wrapped in. So what we're gonna do is actually kind of give it tension by holding it as we're cutting and pulling. So I'm pulling out, I'm pulling this way to hold tension on this so that it's a nice even cut. All right, we're up to the corner here. Same thing, just pull it out. Give yourself some room. There you go. And we're gonna go ahead and when we go underneath, when we pop the hood and we go underneath, we're gonna get some heat on this edge from that angle. Make sure here, when you pop your hood, that nothing's gonna stick. Because if it does, it's gonna be a big deal. So we're gonna kind of lift this up here, okay? Popping everything up to this edge. All right. You're gonna kind of keep your eyes on everything because I've had that happen before where I went too quick, just popped the hood, threw it open, this grabbed on the way up, ripped the whole corner off. That would suck. So, we're gonna be careful when we're grabbing underneath this to not get this to fold on itself. But we look good everywhere. See, kind of watching over here. Okay, let's get about that far. So you can lift it all the way up, but for this video, I think this is gonna be better because we're kind of at body level here and it's easier for you guys to see what's going on. So kind of like what we did on the backside is what we're gonna do with this. We're gonna run some heat. We're gonna do one pass. Look, with my thumb just cresting over this. The next pass, I'm gonna be under like that, doing the whole thing. All right. Okay, and I'm just using the heat gun to make sure if there's any minor wrinkles I didn't see beforehand now that we're up close, and if I need the film to relax a little bit, which usually you do. Just gonna kind of relax a little section at a time. Look at that, I'm just barely pulling on this. See, my thumb, I might go a little bit deeper, but really nothing too crazy. Here. All right, so we did our one pass. We're gonna go under, much steeper, about there. So instead of here, we're going there because we're trying to get about 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch kind of underneath this right here. We want to match this, but we'll get as close as we can. So I'm saving these corners right here. I'm going to show you all these corners here in a second. So we're just doing these straight edges right now. We're gonna do corners. I'm gonna have an episode on more of cornering and all the corners, not just easy. These are easy corners. I'm talking about really difficult ones to get to, like between the hood and the window gasket. So all I'm gonna do, look, is I'm gonna pull this up, this corner up, I'm gonna heat it. You are going to be slightly stretching, but because you're wrapping completely under, when we go to reheat it, post-heat it, it's actually gonna suck up into it, and it holds. So, just a little heat, nothing crazy, nothing crazy. Look at this. Just really kind of get your thumb in there. Look at that. Now, post-heat it. Look at that, see? It hugged this whole corner right here. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and do this. Let's do it on a little more complicated corner. We're gonna do this one right here. Just because it has a swoop and another swoop to it. So yet again, we're gonna pull it out. Nothing crazy, a little bit of heat. Kind of feel that stretch just a little bit and get your thumb under there. And make sure to work around it too. Okay, now come back with heat. Look at that. That corner is perfect. Okay, so I'm gonna time lapse the rest of this real quick. We'll finish out the corners and we'll do these back ones. Like I said, I will have a full video on corners, so stay tuned. So what I'm gonna go ahead and do is I'm gonna cut off the excess. Kind of like how we did the back on the other half, is you're gonna keep tension on it just a little bit, and as you cut, you pull, okay? Blade barely out, barely out. You might have to cut the corners a little bit because they are gonna have kind of wrinkling to them underneath. Okay. All right. So I'm just holding barely tension here. Just going around cutting this. If you don't hold tension, it's gonna flop around and it's not gonna cut evenly. Okay. There you go. Look at that. So we'll go over with heat and my thumb real quick. And what you're doing is just sealing these edges, and then we'll finish that corner and we'll be done. So even with this, I'm still doing kind of an easy, like my thumb there, and then the next pass about there. Otherwise, what's gonna happen is you're gonna come, if you went all the way under the first pass, you're gonna get mini wrinkles in between here. All right, from here, every corner, every hood corner especially, is different. So you need to find where it's the easiest to get to with the hood, either all the way up, all the way down. You gotta kind of figure it out, because the objective is to be able to do the same thing with this corner as we did over here. Heat a little bit, be able to pull under and kind of tuck it. So I'm just gonna kind of give this a look. See where we're at. That doesn't look very easy to get to. So I'm gonna opt to actually have it closed while still watching, making sure nothing's gonna get pulled here. All right. Grab my gun. Do it on this side. All right, so I'm just gonna show this one as the last one. So what you do, same thing. We have all this to work with. Pull it up. Just relax it. And you can kind of see how it kind of stretches like that. That's stretching. We don't want it to go that far. We want to just be kind of relaxed, very light stretch. So we're gonna let it cool down, because I can see how it's shifting, that pattern a little bit. Let it cool down, and just a little bit of stretch. We're gonna go underneath. And so what I'm doing here is I'm relieving this so it can kind of get tucked underneath. Now if you can come over here and get a shot from this angle. So this is part of the fender, but right here, right under here, that's the corner. And this is an almost perfect right there. So at this point, all we're gonna do, same thing, is cut the rest of this edge and then go underneath for this corner, and it's gonna turn out great. And you might have to kind of, there it goes, a little extra hard. Now we'll go get our squeegee. And I'm going straight down on kind of a scraggler we had there. Now look at that. That right there is beautiful. We'll go ahead and heat this. So all I'm doing is kind of just twisting it around. And there's your corner right there. That is beautiful. Okay guys, that was it. The last step you're gonna do is just use your heat gun, run over everything, especially the edges, with your wrap glove, and make sure everything is nice and sealed. If any bubbles pop up, you can get a bubble popping tool. I will link that in the description below. Thank you again for watching. I hope you learned quite a bit from this. I absolutely love wrapping today. It is quite hot out here though. I am literally drenched. So over the next 2 to 3 weeks, I will be finishing the rest of this car in this vinyl here. I'm so excited to see how it turns out. I mean, it doesn't do it justice right here. As soon as it gets out there in the sun, it blows up. It's absolutely awesome. Again, I want to thank Vivid for sponsoring the rest of this series. I mean, I couldn't ask for anything more. The next episode in this series of how to vinyl wrap is going to be going over wrinkles a lot more in depth. So if you see some wrinkles you're just not being able to deal with, I hope I can give you enough knowledge so that you can tackle that on your own and feel confident in any situation you're dealing with as far as vinyl wrapping goes. Thank you for watching. If you stayed all the way through, please like and subscribe to the video. And just remember, paint is dead, just wrap it.
1, 2, 3, funky.
It's sweaty.